Mom wants me to marry my creepy stepbrother and have his kid. Okay, so I guess I'll start with some background since it's probably going to sound insane otherwise. I, 29F, have an older stepbrother, Owen, 42M, and I swear he's been making my life miserable ever since our parents got married. It's honestly like my life turned into some messed up nightmare the second my mom married his dad. I was only 4 at the time and Owen was 17. You'd think by that age he wouldn't care about a little kid being around, but nope, that dude had it out for me from day one. Our parents both lost their first spouses. My dad died when I was a baby, so I don't even remember him, and my mom remarried after that. Owen's mom passed away before his dad married my mom, so there we were, thrown together in some blended family that was never gonna blend right. Not in a million years. Right after their wedding, we moved to the US because my mom had American citizenship from when she was married to my dad. It was this big change, new country, new family, and to top it all off, a new bully in the form of Owen. From the second I moved into their house, I knew something was off. Owen hated me, and I could tell. Like, really hated me. He would lock me in random places all the time. There was this one time when he shoved me into the guest bathroom, locked the door from the outside, and just left me there. I was in there for what felt like hours. No one even came looking for me. And when I finally got out, I told my mom, and she just brushed it off. She'd always say stuff like, "Oh, he's just playing with you, don't be so dramatic." But it didn't stop there. Owen made it his mission to make every day a nightmare for me. If he was the one driving me to school, he'd steal my lunchbox and throw it in the trash. He'd lock me out of the house and tell me to stay outside for hours. I would sit there crying, and he wouldn't care. Not once did my mom step in or tell him to knock it off. In her eyes, Owen was this golden child who could do no wrong. And honestly, I think she liked him more than she ever liked me. She never admitted it, but it was obvious. It's not like my mom was abusive in the traditional sense, like she didn't hit me or scream at me all the time, but she just didn't care. She was too wrapped up in her new family and making sure Owen was happy to even notice what was going on. And because of that, Owen got away with murder. He even tried to hurt my pets. I had this old cat, Bella, who's still with me today. She's like 22 now. He would try to run her over with his car. I can't count how many times I had to pull her out of the street right before Owen could accidentally hit her. I know for a fact he was doing it on purpose. But my mom? She never believed me. She'd say, "Oh, don't be silly, he loves animals." Sure, if by love you mean wants to kill them. Owen didn't stop at just the bullying either. As I got older, things started to get really creepy. He had this weird long key thing that could unlock the bathroom door from the outside. Like, the door had this hole in the doorknob, so if it got locked from the inside, you could stick something long in there to open it. Owen figured that out and used it to walk in on me while I was showering. I'd scream at him to get out, and he'd just laugh. He'd act like it was no big deal, like he was just messing around. One time, I came out of the shower and realized my underwear was missing from the bathroom. I knew it was him. Who else could it be? I confronted him, and he just laughed in my face. And of course, when I told my mom, she said I was making stuff up, being paranoid, and told me to stop causing problems. She never wanted to hear anything bad about Owen. I was the problem, not him. Then things got even worse. When I was 14, I woke up in the middle of the night to find Owen standing over my bed. At first, I didn't know what was happening because I was half asleep, but then I saw it. He was taking care of himself, if you know what I mean. I screamed, and my mom and stepdad came running into the room. But guess what? They didn't believe me. Owen had already slipped away by the time they got there, and I ended up being the one in trouble. My mom said I must have done something to tempt him. Yeah, I was 14 and he was 27, but somehow this was my fault. It was at that point I knew I couldn't stay in that house any longer. I had to get out. I didn't have anywhere to go, but I remembered my half-brother Alex, who's much older than me. He's from my biological dad's first marriage. We didn't see each other much, but I knew he was a good guy. So I called him up and told him everything. I was scared, and I didn't know what else to do. Alex didn't even hesitate. He told me to pack my stuff and said he'd come get me. When Alex confronted my mom about everything Owen had been doing, she didn't care. She just told Alex he could take me if he wanted, as long as she didn't have to deal with me anymore. So that's exactly what happened. I moved in with Alex and his wife, Katie, and they became my legal guardians. I didn't even bother telling my mom goodbye. She didn't care that I was gone, and I didn't want to be there anymore. For the first time in years, I felt safe. Alex and Katie took me in, helped me finish high school, and made sure I had everything I needed. I didn't have to worry about Owen sneaking into my room or locking me in bathrooms anymore. It was like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I stayed with them through college, got my bachelor's and master's degrees, and now I work as a nurse practitioner. I'm still living with them, but I'm saving up to buy my own place. It's funny. My mom didn't care about me for years, and now, after all this time, she suddenly wants to be in my life again. But trust me, it's not because she misses me. It's because she wants something from me, and what she's asking for is absolutely insane. But I'll save that part for later. Alright, so after I moved in with Alex and Katie, life finally started to feel normal again. Or at least as normal as it could be after everything that happened with Owen and my mom. I was 16 when I left their house, and let me tell you, it was the first time I felt like I could actually breathe. No more weird looks from Owen, no more walking in on me, and no more being treated like trash by my own mom. Alex and Katie welcomed me like I was their own kid. They were honestly the best thing that ever happened to me. Alex was always this calm, level-headed guy, the type who'd listen to you and actually care about what you were saying. Katie was just as amazing. She was like this super mom who could handle anything. They made sure I had everything I needed, and for the first time in a long time, I felt safe. I didn't have to sleep with one eye open or constantly wonder what Owen was going to do next. I could just exist without fear. School was rough at first, though. I had to transfer to a new high school in the middle of junior year, which was a nightmare. Everyone already had their cliques, and I was this weird new kid who didn't fit in anywhere. Plus, I was dealing with so much emotional baggage from everything that had happened that I didn't really know how to talk to people. I just kept my head down, did my work, and got through the days. I wasn't looking to make friends. I just wanted to get out of high school and never look back. Alex and Katie noticed I wasn't doing great. I mean, I wasn't failing or anything, but I wasn't exactly thriving either. So they suggested I see a therapist, which at first I didn't want to do. I thought therapy was for people who were way more messed up than I was. But eventually I agreed to go because I figured it couldn't hurt. Therapy was weird at first. I wasn't used to talking about my feelings, and I didn't want to go through all the stuff with Owen and my mom again. But the therapist, Dr. Harris, was really patient with me. She never pushed too hard, and after a few sessions, I started to open up. It helped more than I thought it would. Talking about what happened made it feel less like this huge, dark secret I was carrying around. It was still messed up, but at least I didn't feel so alone in it. Things with my mom were pretty much non-existent at this point. She didn't call, didn't text, didn't check in on me, which honestly was fine by me. I didn't want to hear from her after everything she'd done or hadn't done. I was rebuilding my life, and I didn't need her dragging me down. Owen was the same, radio silence, which again was a relief. But here's the thing. Even though I was doing better, I couldn't shake this feeling that it wasn't over. You know that gut feeling when you just know something is going to come back and bite you? Yeah, I had that. I knew my mom and Owen weren't gone for good. They were like this storm brewing in the background, and I had a feeling it was only a matter of time before they came back and caused trouble again. Meanwhile, I tried to focus on school and my future. Alex and Katie were super supportive of me going to college, which was something my mom never cared about. They helped me with applications, financial aid stuff, all of it. I got accepted to a few places, and eventually, I decided to stay local so I could live with Alex and Katie while I went to school. It just made sense, you know? I wasn't ready to be on my own yet, not after everything. Plus, they didn't charge me rent, which was a lifesaver since college is stupid expensive. During those college years, things were pretty quiet. I still saw my therapist off and on, just to keep working through stuff. I'd have moments where all the old memories would come rushing back, like flashbacks of Owen standing in my room that night, or my mom telling me I was the problem, not him. But for the most part, I was moving forward. I was focused on my studies, hanging out with Alex and Katie's kids, who were like little siblings to me, and just trying to build a future that didn't involve my messed up family. Then, out of nowhere, my mom texted me. I hadn't heard from her in years, and suddenly, she's all, "I miss you so much. How have you been?" It was so fake, it made me sick. I could feel the manipulation coming through the screen, but I tried to be polite, even though I knew there was no way this was just a friendly check-in. My gut was screaming at me that she wanted something, and I was right. After a few "how are yous" and "I miss yous," she got to the real reason she was texting. She started talking about Owen and how he was struggling financially. Apparently, he never finished any of the degrees he started, and now he was working at my stepdad's used car dealership, drowning in student debt. She laid it on thick, telling me how hard it was for him and how it wasn't fair that I had this great career while Owen was stuck. I was already rolling my eyes at this point because I knew what was coming next. Sure enough, she finally asked me to pay off his student loans. Like, what? She really thought I'd spend my hard-earned money bailing out the guy who literally ruined my childhood? I didn't even respond. I just turned off my phone and decided I was done. Done with her, done with Owen, done with all of it. When I told Alex and Katie what happened, Alex was livid. He's usually the calm one, but I've never seen him so angry. He told me to block my mom, Owen, and anyone else who might try to contact me, which I did. I wasn't going to let them mess with me anymore. I had worked too hard to rebuild my life, and there was no way I was going to let them drag me back into their mess. But of course, my mom wasn't going to take that lying down. She always knew how to push my buttons, and when she didn't get what she wanted, she decided to take things up a notch. The next day, she and Owen showed up at Alex's house. Yeah, they actually came to the house, thinking they could bully me into giving them money. I was home alone at the time. Alex and Katie were both at work, and the kids were at school. When I saw them pull into the driveway, my heart dropped. I knew this wasn't going to end well. Update 1. So there I was, alone in Alex's house, minding my own business, and the next thing I know, I see my mom and Owen pulling into the driveway. My stomach dropped, and honestly, my first thought was just, why now? I had no idea how they even knew where Alex lived, but here they were, acting like they could just show up and I'd magically give them what they wanted. I didn't even bother answering the door when they knocked because I already knew how this was going to go. My mom had this thing where she could switch from sweet and loving to downright terrifying in a matter of seconds. And Owen? I wasn't even going to give him the satisfaction of seeing me. After everything he'd done to me, there was no way I was going to let him inside the house. They knocked for a few minutes, and when I didn't answer, the yelling started. First, it was my mom. "You owe us! You think you can just ignore us like that? We raised you! You owe us for everything we did!" She kept going on and on about how I needed to pay Owen's student debt, how it was my responsibility because I was the one with a real career, while Owen was struggling. The thing that really got me was when she said, "Your poor brother deserves a chance. You're being selfish, and we won't leave until you give us what we deserve." Deserve? What they deserved? I couldn't believe she actually thought that. They didn't deserve anything from me, especially after all the years of hell I went through living with them. The entitlement was unreal. Then I heard Owen's voice. And man, the things he was saying were brutal. "You're a waste of space. We should have thrown you out years ago. You've always been nothing but a burden." He was walking around the house, trying to find a window or door he could break into. I could hear him rattling the doorknobs and banging on the windows, yelling every insult he could think of. It was like he was daring me to come outside, trying to break me down so I'd give in. I grabbed my phone and called Alex. I didn't even have to explain much. He knew what was going on as soon as I said my mom and Owen were at the house. He told me to lock all the doors, stay inside, and not open up no matter what. He said he was on his way and would be there as soon as he could. I've never been so grateful for Alex in my life. He's always had my back, and this was no different. I did what Alex said and double-checked all the locks, even though I was pretty sure everything was already secure. The thing is, Alex's house isn't just some regular house. He's got these security bars on all the windows and doors because there were some break-ins in the neighborhood a few years ago. So I wasn't too worried about Owen actually getting in, but that didn't make it any less terrifying. Owen started banging harder on one of the windows near the kitchen, and I could hear the glass cracking. My heart was pounding, and I just kept thinking, what if he actually breaks in? I didn't want to be face-to-face with him again. Not after everything. The memories of what he did to me when I was younger flooded back, and all I could do was try to stay calm. My mom was still yelling from the front porch, switching between begging and threatening me. One minute she was all, "We're family, you need to help us." And the next she was like, "If you don't open this door, I'll make sure you regret it." Classic manipulation. It didn't even surprise me anymore. Owen must have gotten frustrated because he gave up on the windows and went back to the front door. I could hear him trying to kick it down. He was shouting all kinds of awful things at me, stuff like, "You're worthless! You should have never been born!" It felt like the door was shaking with every kick. But I knew Alex's house was built like a fortress. That door wasn't going anywhere, no matter how hard Owen tried to break it down. Then, after what felt like forever, I heard a familiar voice outside. Alex had arrived. I couldn't see much from where I was hiding in one of the bedrooms, but I could hear the shouting get louder. Alex wasn't having any of it. He started yelling at my mom and Owen, telling them to get the hell off his property. I've never heard Alex that mad before. Usually he's super calm, but this was different. He was done with them, just like I was. There was a lot of yelling, and then I heard my mom start crying. It was her typical fake cry, the one she'd always use when she wanted to manipulate someone. She started going on about how I was tearing the family apart and how I was choosing money over family. She was really laying it on thick, trying to get Alex to take her side. But Alex wasn't buying it. He told her straight up that if she and Owen didn't leave, He was calling the cops. I snuck a peek out of the bedroom window, and what I saw was honestly kind of satisfying. My mom and Owen looked terrified. I think they knew they'd pushed things too far this time, and now they were up against someone who wasn't going to let them bully me anymore. Alex stood his ground, and after a few more minutes of yelling and threats, my mom and Owen finally backed off. They got into their car and sped away like cowards. I swear they were going way over the speed limit, but at that point, I didn't care. I just wanted them gone. Alex came inside a few minutes later, and as soon as I saw him, I broke down. The adrenaline had worn off, and all the fear and anxiety I'd been holding in just came pouring out. Alex hugged me and kept saying how sorry he was that this had happened, even though none of it was his fault. He promised me that he'd never let them hurt me again, and for the first time in a long time, I actually believed him. After that, Alex called Katie and she rushed home from work. She was just as furious as Alex, and honestly, I thought she was going to track down my mom and Owen herself and deal with them. But Alex calmed her down and told her we needed to focus on getting a restraining order against them. I wasn't sure if it would actually work, but at that point, I was willing to try anything to keep them away. The next few days were tense. My mom and Owen didn't come back to the house, but my mom started calling me from all kinds of different numbers, leaving voicemails that went from apologizing to threatening to crying in a matter of minutes. It was exhausting, and I ended up changing my number just to get some peace. Alex and Katie were amazing through all of this. They helped me contact a lawyer and start the process of getting a restraining order. We even talked about pressing charges against Owen for what he did to me when I was younger, but honestly, I didn't know if I had the strength to go through all of that again. Still, the fact that Alex and Katie were there, ready to fight for me, made all the difference. But I knew this wasn't over, not by a long shot. Update 2. So after the whole showdown at Alex's house, I thought things would calm down for a while. Like maybe my mom and Owen would finally get the message and leave me alone. Yeah, I was wrong, really wrong. It started with the phone calls. I blocked my mom's number, but somehow she always found a way to call from different ones. She'd leave these long, rambling voicemails, switching between crying and trying to guilt-trip me, saying things like, "You're destroying this family," or "How can you be so heartless to your own mother?" It was like she was going through every possible emotion just to see which one would work. I didn't respond to any of it, obviously. I wasn't about to get sucked back into her drama. But then, things got weirder. One day I was at work, and my boss called me into her office. I immediately thought I was in trouble or something. But when I walked in, she had this concerned look on her face. She handed me a piece of paper and said, "I think you need to see this." It was a letter from my mom. How she managed to send something to my workplace, I still don't know. But the letter was unsettling, to say the least. She started off saying how much she missed me and how she wished we could reconnect as mother and daughter. But then, it took a creepy turn. She started talking about Owen, saying how much he loves me and how he's been thinking about me nonstop. She even mentioned that Owen had been talking about marrying me. I nearly threw up right there in my boss's office. I don't know what was worse, the fact that she thought this was normal or the fact that she actually believed Owen and I should be together. Like, what the hell? She was trying to sell this twisted idea that if I just forgave Owen and moved back in with them, everything would be fine. In her mind, I was the one who needed to make things right, as if I was responsible for everything that had gone wrong between us. It was beyond messed up. I was shaking as I read it. My boss, who already knew about my family issues, at least the surface level stuff, asked me if I was okay. I couldn't even answer at first. I just handed her the letter, and she skimmed through it, her eyes widening with every word. She put the letter down and said, "You need to get a restraining order. This is dangerous." I knew she was right, but at the same time, I felt stuck. Like, I'd been fighting this battle for so long, and nothing seemed to make it stop. My mom wasn't going to quit until she got what she wanted, or until something serious happened. I didn't even want to think about what that might be. After work, I went straight to Alex and showed him the letter. He was furious. He immediately called our lawyer and pushed harder to get that restraining order in place. It felt like things were escalating, and fast. My mom wasn't just being annoying anymore. This was real harassment. And the worst part, she was dragging Owen back into the picture, which was like throwing gasoline on a fire. The lawyer helped us file the paperwork, and I tried to focus on keeping things normal in my life. But every time I'd think it was over, my mom would find some new way to get to me. One day, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. At this point, I was suspicious of every unknown number, but for whatever reason, I picked it up. I wish I hadn't. It was my aunt, at least, That's what she claimed. I didn't even know I had aunts on my mom's side. She always told me she didn't have any family. But apparently, that was just another one of her lies. This aunt launched into a whole speech about how I needed to fix things with my mom, how I was being selfish by ignoring her, and how family is everything. She kept going on about how much my mom has sacrificed for me, and how it's time for me to give back. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The guilt tripping was relentless. She told me that my mom was in a bad place financially and emotionally because of me, and if I didn't step up, she might not make it, as if my mom's mental state was somehow my fault. I had to hang up. I couldn't take it anymore. After that, I blocked the number and texted Alex, telling him what happened. He told me not to worry, that this was just another one of my mom's mind games, but still, it rattled me. I didn't know who else my mom was going to drag into this mess, and I felt like my whole life was being invaded by people I didn't even know. A few days later, my mom took things to another level. She started posting about me online. At first, it was just the typical stuff. Her playing the victim, saying how I'd abandoned her, and how she's the one who's suffering because of my cruelty. But then, she crossed a line. She started accusing me of being the problem with Owen. She actually wrote in one of her posts that I had been trying to seduce him since we were teenagers. She painted this disgusting picture of me as the one who had caused all the issues in our family, saying I was jealous of Owen, and that I'd been obsessed with him for years. She even went as far as to say that I'd tried to break up her marriage by turning my stepdad against Owen. It was all lies, and it made me sick to my stomach. What's worse is that a bunch of her friends and supposed family members started chiming in, backing her up, saying they'd seen how I acted around Owen and how it was clear I had some kind of agenda against him. I didn't even know these people. It felt like I was being attacked from every angle and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Alex told me not to engage. He said that getting into a fight online was exactly what my mom wanted. She wanted to drag me into her drama, make me look like the bad guy, and make herself look like the victim. He was right, but it didn't make it any easier to ignore. I couldn't help but feel like I was constantly looking over my shoulder, wondering what was going to happen next. The lawyer was working on speeding up the restraining order, but even with that in the works, I didn't feel safe. It was like my mom was willing to do anything to get control over my life again. She'd already taken so much from me growing up, my sense of safety, my childhood, my trust in her as a mother, and now she was trying to take away my peace of mind too. But I wasn't going to let her win, not this time. I knew there was still a long road ahead, and I had no idea how far my mom would go. But with Alex and Katie by my side, I felt like, for once, I had a fighting chance. I wasn't that scared little girl anymore. I was done letting her control me, and no matter how many letters, phone calls, or online posts she made, I was going to keep moving forward. She couldn't stop me now. So, I thought things were finally settling down after my mom's creepy letters and social media attacks. I figured she had run out of ways to get at me. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that my mom and Owen are way more messed up than I ever gave them credit for. And just when I thought they couldn't stoop lower, they did. A couple of weeks after the whole aunt phone call and my mom's online smear campaign, I get a call from Alex while I'm at work. I remember thinking it was weird because Alex never calls me during the day unless it's something serious. So, I answer, and his voice sounds really off, like he's trying not to freak me out but also wants to get to the point. He says, "You need to sit down for this." My heart starts racing because honestly, what now? I thought we'd hit rock bottom with my mom's craziness, but apparently we weren't even close. Alex tells me that Owen has been arrested, and not for something small either. He was arrested for kidnapping. Yeah, you read that right. He kidnapped someone. I didn't know what to say. I literally just sat there, holding the phone to my ear, trying to process the words. Owen was always a creep, but kidnapping? That's a whole new level. Alex told me that Owen had taken his cousin's 2-year-old daughter. He'd snatched her right out of her daycare. Apparently, Owen had gone to pick up the little girl without permission, claiming he was helping out the family. The daycare let him take her because he said he was her uncle. He took her for a couple of hours before anyone realized something was seriously wrong, and by the time the cops were called, Owen had already driven off with her. I don't know what he was planning to do with her, but it's terrifying to even think about it. Thank God, the cops found them pretty fast. From what Alex told me, they caught him in a parking lot at some random shopping center. The little girl was safe, thank God, but Owen was arrested on the spot. He didn't even try to fight it. He just sat there, looking all calm like it was no big deal, while the police took him away. I felt sick. I mean, I knew Owen was messed up, but this was something else. I couldn't stop thinking about that poor little girl. She could have been seriously hurt or worse. It was a miracle they found her so fast. What kind of person kidnaps their own family? I don't even want to know what was going through Owen's head, but the fact that he even thought this was okay just shows how far gone he is. After I hung up with Alex, I couldn't concentrate on anything. All I could think about was how close I came to being his target when I was younger. If he was capable of this now, what would he have done to me back then if I hadn't gotten out when I did? It was like everything from my past came flooding back, and I was right back in that dark place I'd fought so hard to escape. Alex kept me updated on what was happening with the case. The family was, understandably, furious. My mom's side of the family, who I'd barely even met, was freaking out, and Owen's dad was totally beside himself. From what Alex heard, Owen had been spiraling for a while, but no one thought he'd do something like this. Even his dad, who had always defended him, couldn't excuse this. But the craziest part? My mom. My mom had the nerve to say that it was all a misunderstanding. She told anyone who would listen that Owen was just trying to help, and that the police had overreacted. She even tried to downplay the whole thing, like it wasn't a big deal that he kidnapped a child. She was still backing him up, still acting like he could do no wrong, even after all of this. When Alex told me that, I lost it. I was angry before, but now I was just done. Done with her, done with Owen, done with everything. I couldn't believe she would stand by him after what he did. It was like she had completely lost her grip on reality. The next day, I sat down with Alex and Katie, and we had a long talk about what to do next. The restraining order was finally going through, and the lawyer was helping me get everything in place to keep my mom and Owen as far away from me as possible. But there was still the issue of my mom's online posts and the lies she was spreading about me. I didn't want to get into a public fight with her, but at the same time, I couldn't just sit back and let her trash my name. That's when Alex brought up something I hadn't even thought about: pressing charges against her for fraud. My mom had been faking documents and receipts to get money from my dad's trust for years, and now that we had proof, we could take her to court. Alex and the lawyer were all for it, saying it was time to go on the offensive and stop playing defense. I wasn't sure at first. I mean, going after my own mom in court? That felt like such a huge step. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that she had already taken so much from me. My childhood, my trust, my safety, all of it had been ripped away by her and Owen. Why shouldn't I fight back? So we went ahead with it. The fraud case was officially in motion, and I finally felt like I had some control over the situation. It wasn't going to be easy, but at least I wasn't just sitting around, waiting for the next terrible thing to happen. Things moved pretty quickly after that. Owen's trial for the kidnapping started, and my mom's lies were starting to unravel. People were starting to see her for who she really was. Someone who would do anything to protect Owen, no matter how wrong he was. She kept pushing the misunderstanding narrative, but no one was buying it anymore. Even some of the family members who had backed her up started to distance themselves. It was a weird feeling watching everything fall apart around them. Part of me felt relieved, like justice was finally being served, but another part of me was just exhausted. I didn't want to keep fighting this war with my own family, but I didn't have a choice. This was the only way to protect myself and move forward. By the time the restraining order was finalized, I felt like I could finally breathe again. Owen was behind bars. My mom's fraud case was underway, and for the first time in years, I felt like I had a real chance to start over. It wasn't over yet, not by a long shot, but at least I was on the right path. And that's where things stand now. I'm still working through all the legal stuff, still dealing with the emotional fallout, but I'm not scared anymore. I'm not that helpless little girl who let Owen and my mom control her life. I'm stronger now, and no matter what they throw at me next, I'm ready.